What's going on, guys? Here today showing you how to replace the thrust arms on a 2004 Mercedes C320. These are the thrust arms right here. There's two lower control arms on these cars. There's one that's back there that goes down to locate the bottom of the shock. And then there's the forward arms that usually have this curve in them, and they're much more beefier. You use these to set alignment. They have eccentric bolts inside, but these bushings always go bad more often than the back ones do. So these are called thrust arms or lower forward arms if you're looking them up. This actually will work for most modern Mercedes from 2002 to present time, with the exception of formatted cars, because obviously they have an axle there, a CV axle in the middle, and these are designed a little differently. But this will literally work for these W203s, the 204s, the W210s are pretty similar, the W220s, the W218s, the W219s, pretty much all the Mercedes S-Class, E-Class, C-Class from about 2002 till now will have arms that look just like this. They might not, be the same length or whatever, but the arms will be in the same positions, and they often fail right here on those bushings. I can't really zoom in, but you can see that one's kind of starting to crack. But got the new one right here, brand new. It's easier just to replace the entire arm rather than trying to take it to the machine shop and have the bushings pressed out. That takes too long, and it costs just the same. This arm costs $100. It's a limb forwarder arm. You can get them from FCP Euro, Pelican parts. You can get them locally. Whichever arm you want to get, it doesn't really matter. I just prefer limb forwarder or male. But yeah, let's get right into it. Okay, so I'm working here on the driver hand side. Probably the only difference between these C classes and most of the other ones is the way that this shock right here is mounted on the bottom. You can see this is the arm right here we need to take out, but if you take this, the nut loose at the bottom and then try to pop that arm out, obviously it's not going to go anywhere because the shock is all in the way. So unfortunately we are going to have to disassemble the shock. The two bolts that hold it right here in the back. This one bolt right here, we're gonna have to move this ABS wire and disconnect the stabilizer link up top, that guy right there, just so that we can have this whole hub drop down enough to get the arm out. I highly suggest using a jack underneath this, as soon as you start taking these bolts out from the shock, this whole hub is going to want to flop forward. That's okay, just make sure you support it with the jack, a floor jack, that way you can lower it as you need to. The first thing I do suggest doing though is to actually loosen up the ball joint right here that we're going to take out, so that way, and just leave it hand tight, so that way when it's time to pop it free, you can do so, because if you take off the shock first and then try to break that bolt loose, this whole hub just going to be flopping around. You won't be able to get any leverage at all. So that's the first thing I'm going to do now. So as you can see, that guy is completely it's just hand tightened, so I'm gonna leave it just like that. Now we can focus our attention on all the other bolts we have to take off. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and remove this upper stabilizer link. I went on ahead and took out all of this ABS wire. I just took it out of its clips right here on the front, right here on the side and the back. Now I'll just loosen up. This is a 16mm nut. So that guy's loose, you can just let it hang down to the side, that's fine. The other nut that we need to remove is this guy right here. It's probably going to be the hardest one to remove. What I'm going to do is take and center the steering wheel back straight. This right here is a 21mm, and then the other side is actually a Torx, and I gotta get you that size here. I'll get it right here in a minute. Okay, like I was saying, you need to loosen up this top here strut mounting point. It's a 21 millimeter on this side, and the other side takes an E18. It's an external Torx like this. This is not common size. You're gonna probably have to buy this special, maybe on Amazon, or if your local parts store has it, but you can see it just goes right on the end over here. That way we can break that loose. After I break this loose, then I'm gonna go on ahead and turn the wheel back so you can see the back strut mounting points. That was easy enough to break loose. You don't need power tools to do this. You can do this with a normal breaker bar and whatnot. But if you have air impact tools, then by all means use those. Okay, so the two mounting bolts that are on the back here are a 19 here and a 19 on the other side. Once you break these loose, this whole thing is going to want to fall down. So this is where you need to get a jack and support the bottom of it. So I'm going to go on ahead and break loose these other two bolts. Now these will have a washer that comes out with them. Looks like this. They're just really short bolts. I'm going to go ahead and break loose the other one. Okay, that guy's loose as well. As you see there, just went inside, turned the key a little bit, and got this guy to break free. And so now, when you go to take this arm out from the bottom, or at least bust it free, you'll at least have this amount of play in order to get it out. So now the next thing I'm going to do is focus on getting this here. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm going to focus on getting this here ball joint out. As you can see, okay, well, you can see we got this all loose now, just enough. It'll give you enough clearance to where you can pop that arm out of there with the ball joint tool and be able to actually lift it up enough to remove it. You might have to fight it a little bit, but that's okay. Next thing I'm going to draw your attention to is down to the bottom of the car. Under the car there's a plastic shield. This guy, it's held on by a few 8mm screws. You can see them all around. You may not need to take this off, but I tell you, it's a lot more helpful to get a wrench on the inside of the bushing if you take this off. So I'm going to remove all the 8mm screws and take this big plastic shield off. There should be a total of 6. And you can just take this down and slide it backwards. Well, now let's give you a lot more room to access the inner side of the bushing. Okay, I want to show you how I have my ball joint tool in here. I absolutely love this ball joint separator tool. If you can get one, you should get one. I got it from Amazon. It was about 60 bucks. The part number is right there on the side, GW3916, D as in dog. It does not destroy the boots like all other ball joint separators would. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you are using this tool, you need to take off this tie rod end, which is what I did right here. I took this tie rod end off, otherwise it would be in the way and I couldn't get my tool in there. But as you can see, It does not destroy the boot, it doesn't rip them, it doesn't squeeze any grease out or anything. So I, completely can use this and be safe and not have any problems. So now that I got this into place, I'm going ahead and you just tighten up this bolt here, and as you're doing that, this arm forces the ball joint out. These are usually under a tremendous amount of pressure, so if it seems like when you're using this it's about to break, or it just seems like you're having to tighten it really hard, trust me, just give it a few more, just tighten it up a little bit more, and should pop free. Now you can see there, that's loose, so I can take this tool out, loosen up the nut that's on the bottom, and you should be able to pull the arm out like so. So now the only thing supporting this guy up is the ball joint right here. I'm gonna go get some zip ties so I can at least hang this up so it's not just being supported by one ball joint. Okay, you can see I just got this temporarily zip tied to the top strut hole. So now this guy is loose and free. You can just worry about detaching it from the body over here. And I believe that these are 21 millimeter nuts. Let me double check that. Yep, 21 millimeter. So I'm working on the left side of the car. This bolt that's the furthest forward towards the radiator area, you should be able to get a 21 millimeter socket in there. However, on the other side you can see it's kind of buried in there. You will need to use a 21 millimeter wrench to hold it. Now, like I said before, these have eccentric bolts, so pretty much what they do is as you spin the bolt around, it'll pull the arm in or out. So it's highly recommended that you go get an alignment after this is done. However, if you don't want to do that, you could technically, what I do sometimes is just take a Sharpie and I trace around the outside of the washer right here and kind of make some witness marks on the other side. So that way when I put everything back together, I kind of just ballpark and get them right where they were. So that way your alignment is at least, not terrible where it's going to just eat up your tires or pull to one side or not, but I do recommend you get an alignment like you should. So I'm going to go ahead and get these guys loose now. Okay, as you can see, I got the bolt loose, but there's no way to slide this bolt out because it's hitting this stabilizer, the stabilizer bar mount back here. So yet another thing to take off, because otherwise you can't get that bolt out. So you'll need to get yourself another Torx bit, just like the ones we did to take off the strut bolts. Let me go get the size so you can know what that is. Now keep in mind, I haven't done the other side of this car, and so we did disconnect the stabilizer link on this shock. So the other one on my car right now is still connected. It shouldn't cause a problem, but just keep in mind that if you're doing one side at a time, that this might still be under some type of pressure. So you'll need to use a E12 Torx on this to loosen up the stabilizer bar, and then this whole bar mount should just fall down out of the way to where you can take this bolt out. I'm gonna go ahead and loosen up the other side now since I'm already under here. Okay, so I got both of them loose. Now this bolt should be able to slide straight out like so. It's a very long bolt. And then obviously you can just take that out now. Just like so. Let me show you what the bad bushing looks like. You see this bushing is all torn around the outside here. So this will cause shaking when you brake. It'll also cause shaking when you're driving around 50, 55 miles an hour. Just, you know, slight vibrations in the steering wheel. So like I said, these are very common and they go bad a lot. I've had a car and had to replace these guys twice. So we'll go ahead and get the new one in. Okay, got the new one here. Comes with the new nut, comes with the plastic, and usually they come with these plastic covers on them. Obviously you need to take that off before you install it, so please don't install it with this plastic cover on and be that guy. So I'm going ahead and position this back into place, and pretty much it's just reinstallation now, just how you took it off. We'll go in and get this in and get the 21 millimeter that long bolt I just took out, put it back into place and tighten it up, and then we can worry about getting the ball joint back into the arm. Okay, so you see I'm going to leave this here guy loose until I get it back into the arm and in the correct position. Then at that point you want to go on ahead and tighten this guy up. So you don't want to tighten it right now where it's just hanging down, because then you're going to have to work against the bushing and then tear up the bushing trying to get it back into the control arm, or get it back into the hub over here. So first just get it in there so it's hanging in there, and then position it back to where you're going to put it back into the hub, or excuse me, the knuckle over here. So let's go on ahead back on here to this side. Okay, so now we're back over here on this side where we're going to focus on getting this positioned back into place where it needs to be in this arm. I'm going to go ahead and cut my zip ties now so I can maneuver this correctly. Okay, so it might take a little bit of maneuvering, but you should be able to push this ball joint back down into place and get the new nut on the bottom just to hold it in. Sorry you can't see what I'm doing. So now I have the new nut there on the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and tighten that guy up now all the way tight, 21 millimeter. Okay, so I got that guy all nice and snugged up, back onto place. Now you can go on ahead and get the strut mounted back into place. Might be easier to do when you have a jack to help you hold it up, or you can just try and maneuver it into place on your own, which is what I'm trying to do now. Just like so. As soon as you can get the top bolt started, you'll be good to go. As you can see, I got the strut. I'm gonna get this top bolt right here holding this into place, and after that the other two should be easy to get in. I got that guy in there. I'm going to go ahead and get the two 19mm bolts you remember in the back that go in, the short bolts. Get those guys in there and get them started. Go ahead and tighten up the two 19s in the back. Again, I apologize, you can't really see the back, but it's the same two 19s that are holding the bottom of the strut. Let's torque down. Now I'm going to go on ahead and tighten up this top strut mounting bolt. Remember, it's a 21mm on one side and a E18 Torx on the other side. Tight. Then you can go on ahead and put this ABS wire back into its clips. And don't forget to first, now I would do this last with the sway bar since we had to take the sway bar mounting bolts off. What I would do is, if you're going to go do the other side, which obviously you are, I would just leave the sway bar alone until the very last thing that you do, because if you put the stabilizer links back into the arm right now, it's going to be hard to line up the bolts to the chassis. So I would just take the sway bar off completely and just let it hang how it is. It's just hanging here. Let it hang on both sides, do the arm, and then go on ahead and bolt the stabilizer bar mounts back to the frame first, and then after that swing the arm up and then mount it to the strut. So I'm going to just leave this off because I have to do the other side. Otherwise, you would just put this bolt back here into the top and tighten it with the 16mm. And also, if you, like me, took off the tie rod in here, you can go on ahead and reposition that guy back into place and tighten it back up accordingly. Okay, so now those guys are back on tight there. And pretty much that's all there is to replacing this. Obviously, the last thing to do now is to tighten up the inner side of the bushing with the 21mm wrench and socket. So after you do that, that's pretty much it. Obviously, you'll do the other side. Like I said, do the stabilizer bar at the very end of everything. And then you go on ahead and put your plastic splash shield back into place with the 8mm screws. But aside from that, this job is a little bit more involved, I would say, on these cars more than the other chassis, because of the way that this strut here is mounted right above the arm. The strut is mounted above the arm on the other cars, but just not so much like this. So the other ones you could actually remove it without having to remove the strut, but nonetheless still got it done. So if you have any comments or questions, just ask them in the comment section below. First time stopping by the channel, I appreciate you coming by. If you liked the video, hit the like button, share it with your friends, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button on the way out. Alright, I'll catch you guys next time.